Hey guys, it's time for the sixth episode of F4. I'm your host, Samuel Bukowski, and today we're going to talk about elimination strategy, cheesecaking, and GP. Now we're going to go to the main overlay and how everybody introduce themselves, starting with Dick Shan.
I'm from this part of Michigan, around here. I do scouting. I'm the scouting lead. I also do a fair bit of strategy and work in mechanical and CAD as well.
Okay, I'm Adisai. I'm also from this part of Michigan, and I am assistant scouting lead, and I'm an app developer, and I'm in programming.
Cool. I'm from Tigertronics. I'm Drew, Team 2053, and I'm the programmer and co-president of the team.
He's from that part of New York.
Yeah, upstate. No one likes to talk about it.
It doesn't exist. It's like there's the little tiny part of New York, and then upstate. Everything
Yeah.
else. All right, so we're just gonna jump right in to our first topic, which is elimination strategy, and the first topic that we're gonna talk about, which is three offensive robots versus two offensive robots. So the two offensive robots and one defensive robot. We saw the strategy of three offensive robots on both alliances work out pretty well. The world high score was set in a match just like that. Um, but is it viable on a higher level?
I think it's definitely like it could work really well, but the thing is, you need to make sure that the opposite alliance isn't gonna outgun you overall. If you're in a higher position where you know that that alliance can't score more than you, no matter what, it might not even be worth playing defense and just to go with three offensive robots. I saw this was at a week 1 at Waterford where 33 Killer Bees and their alliance partner Hot and Trisonics 67 4003. They went with a three offensive strategy because they knew they were the number one alliance. They knew that no one else could score more than them, and it wasn't worth them playing defense and just go out and score as much as you can.
One thing I would definitely like to add is there's a lot less risk of penalties if you're not going to be playing defense, which is a nice addition. Our team, our alliance at New York City, chose the three offensive robot strategy um, because we knew that that was the best way for us to score the most amount of points. We did get eliminated in quarterfinals, some bad calls, blah blah blah. In the end, we might have done better with a defensive robot and two offensive robots. Um, so definitely something to think about.
At Troy, we used the two offensive robots and one defensive robots as a strategy to beat the uh, the Thunder Chickens from Sterling Heights, Michigan, and it worked out pretty well.
Did you beat them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
I think for us
Um,
in Pittsburgh, I would say, I think it was in, I think, yeah, quarterfinals. We were up against, who was it? Uh, what they were a really good high goal shooter, and so we actually played defense with our climbing arm. So we went back there, and with our Mechanim drivetrain, we would just like strafe side to side and basically block their shots. So I think the two robots playing offense and one defense is actually like a pretty good idea because you can completely shut down one of their high goal shooters if you're good enough.
Absolutely. And then one last thing to add on there is the strategy of not having a defensive robot in the courtyard, but rather having the defensive robot in the neutral zone. We saw this implemented in the Waterloo Finals for the Blue Lions, who ended up pulling out the win. And essentially, the way that 610 described the reasoning behind that was that they couldn't block 2056 and 1114 once they got into the courtyard. The shots were just too
Yeah.
good. They perfected them to a point. They were outerwork shooters, or they had a hard stop. It was just too hard to defend them. But they knew they can defend them by harboring balls and just stopping them from moving once they were in the neutral zone. Do you think that's also a viable strategy?
I think that's definitely a viable strategy. One thing that we personally did is that we knew that Thunder Chickens themselves weren't gonna. It was too hard to block their shots. So what we did is we told our defense robot to focus in on a single robot because honestly, like besides a couple teams, most teams can't get that capture by themselves. And if they're just playing defense on a single robot, they can make it very hard for them to get a capture and to reduce your opponent's score drastically.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Anybody want to add
Yeah.
anything to that?
I would probably say that, especially with like the higher ranked teams, the keeping the boulders away in the neutral zone is key because if I saw a lot of this with a lot of the teams, especially 6'10", they as soon as they finish scoring in a high goal or low goal, the human player would throw the boulder like right next to the low bar, so they as they went through the low bar, they picked it up and got it. I think that's really important because if you can block that boulder, it's going to take a lot more time for them to get another one and try and go around you in the neutral zone. So,
Yeah, that was one
Yeah.
thing we actually were really thinking about on our alliance in New York City. So there was a team 3419, the Rohawks, with a very, very powerful shooter. They were using pneumatic swerve, which is pretty cool. And their entire strategy was pick up a boulder. Basically, the human player would throw it, same, would go to the low bar, and then they would drive through the low bar and score. Pretty accurate vision. It ended up, getting them to finals. In the end, they weren't able to pull off the win. But I knew if we were to verse their alliance, I told our alliance, I'm like, yeah, we're just not gonna follow whatever strategy we have here, and I'm just gonna go there and just suck up every boulder that flies through there, right out of their secret passage. Because I know our intake was better, their intake was poor. And that's something you should totally target when you're doing scouting. The only reason why I knew that is because we were at a practice event a few weeks ago with them, and I noticed there's their weakness. So I think targeting weaknesses is a really good elimination strategy. It's kind of off from anything that was here, but I think that's a big thing.
yeah.
And then the next elimination strategy point we're going to talk about is the seeding system. So I'll preface this by saying, the seeding system this year is all right. It favors rookie teams, so that's why, if anybody's been noticing, there's been a lot of rookie alliance captains, which is
Yeah.
crazy. And then it also makes it so that your alliance partners are really important. So what happened at New York City with us is we were ended up out of 66 seeded 44th, despite the fact that our OPR was 10th.
Yeah,
So that's really, there's a really big disconnect between those two things. And then the next pick for our alliance was the rank 46th. So we were the 8th rank alliance, and we won our first quarterfinal match with the, I think they were the seed 12, seed 44th, and seed 46th. So I think going into the district championships and world championships, that ranks should not be, or rather seeds, should not be used whatsoever when it comes to figuring out your picks. Does anybody?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely true because I think on Long Island, someone actually picked like a 40th seed.
I think that was the. I think
It
that
was like the
the
fourth alliance.
the fourth alliance, the one that won.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they picked a 47th seeds or something like that, and
it was.
yeah, they outpicked.
Okay, one thing to say with that, that seed was actually Team 263 Sachem Aftershock, who won the South Florida regional the year before, along with becoming finalists at SBPLI. And we're also on their second regional with a week 0 event. So they were
Yeah,
pretty
they had
lucky.
experience.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, no, definitely. That was, I noticed that they were picked and ended up winning the event. So I think just disregard seed when you're choosing your alliance. It should.
Cat, something onto that?
Yeah.
Another thing to focus on is to pick the most robust and robots that won't lose comms, because losing
Yeah.
comms can like destroy everything.
Yeah.
For example, at Midland, we had this robot was they lost comms on the drawbridge, and they were also a scaler, and because of that, number one, that was the last defense we needed to cross, and there was very little time left, so we weren't going to double cross another one in order to get the breach, so we lost 20 points for that. They obviously were not able to make it onto the batter, which is 25 points, 45 points. Plus, they had a really reliable scaler, and they would have gotten that 15 points as well. So that's 60 points right there lost because someone lost comms. And
I think-
Yeah.
I think a
won that.
bigger example of that is Finals 1 and Finals 2, actually, at Waterloo. Arguably, if 1114 did not lose comms, the 2056 streak would still be alive.
Yeah.
I've
I got,
seen in a lot of events people lose comms really easily. Just simply going over the moat or one defense, they lose
yeah.
comms. It's really easy this year.
I honestly can't
Well,
believe that a team like 1114 lost comms like that. I don't
crazy to
understand
think
how that
about.
happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like their wiring was perfect. It
Yeah.
ended. I think they diagnosed it
what
as a
happened?
radio issue. Like they just switched
Oh.
out the radio. We broke a radio this year along with a PCM.
Oh, yeah. Same with
Yeah.
us.
We broke our radio as well, and actually at one of our qualification matches, for some reason, some type of we think it was oil got into some of the CAN wiring, and we lost. We lost comms. We weren't moving, but then apparently the defenses weren't placed right, so they replayed the match. So that was
That's
nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, no, radio issues, comms issues are huge this year. I know before all of our, part of the reason why we see this so low is because the majority of our matches, we were either the only robot moving or there was only 2 robots moving. We never lost comms in a match, but there was, I think, only one of our 8 matches did we have a match with 3 robots moving the whole time. So, towards the end of the competition, I started shaking everybody's wires around, and I diagnosed a lot of issues. Whether this be breakers, okay? If you guys are going to any state championships, district championships, or worlds, the first thing you should do is replace your main breaker. They only survive 1 regional in this game. Teams have basically proven that at this point. They don't survive. Replace your main breaker. Batteries. Check your battery terminals. Tighten them. I know we just use quarter 20 bolts on ours, so that we can just take our 7/16 socket wrenches and just tighten them really quick. The power wires, make sure they're taped down to the radio or hot glued on. I recommend tape because you want to be able to take it out to the module instead of having to bring your robot over to the laptops for programming. That's annoying. And then I think what's another point? Probably you got to check your VRM wiring. So from your PDP to your VRM, make sure that's perfect. And then the last thing that no one really thinks about is make sure your battery cable isn't hitting your main breaker. Because a momentary tap on the main breaker will cause a radio reboot.
Yeah.
So be careful with that. If anybody has any other ones, just make everybody aware of all these things. Check it all. Don't stop.
Well, I wouldn't say this is a wiring issue, but we had some issues on Long Island switching to like a Raspberry, like an offboard processor for vision, and we didn't realize that you had to, at least with the FMS set up the way it is, we basically had to use static IPs for all of communication in between the radio, the Robo Radio, and the Raspberry Pi. So we didn't figure that out until like our second or third qual match or practice match, I think. So I would definitely check that too, because that gave us some issues.
Okay. There's some interesting stuff going on chat, but I will continue the show. So the next thing we're going to talk about, the last topic in elimination strategy, is the Scorched Earth strategy. If you don't know what that is, that's what I think a lot of the rookie teams that seeded high this year should have done. And that's just asking every good team pretty much from the top 8 onto your lines, knowing that they're going to deny you. That way, you prevent all of them from coming together. This would have changed the outcome of Long Island, would have changed the outcome of New York City, and numerous other events that I don't know off the top of my head. With teams that are not necessarily gonna be accepted as alliance captains, Scorched Earth is the right strategy because it will make your alliance more powerful in the end. You'll have a much better chance of winning the event with the Scorched Earth strategy. Anything anybody wants to add to that?
I think it was Foley Freeze 910 that just won Windsor this weekend with OP. They did this at Troy where I think they picked Thunder Chickens, and Thunder Chickens denied. And Thunder Chickens alliance was nowhere as strong as it could have been because of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we were able to beat them because of that, partially.
Okay, just quickly before we get on to the next topic, Doug Williams asked, how does seeding specifically benefit rookie teams? And Arizona Brown Boy said it doesn't. It does. So basically, the way that the seeding system works is it favors higher numbers. Something a lot of people don't know this. Basically, say you're in a match. There's only one. I actually explained this to my mom earlier. So say there's only one qualification match at an event. Okay, there's only 3 spots. You win the match, okay? You scored all the points in your alliance. Your team, 20. The rest of the members of your team, there's team 23-42 and team 60-15. 60-15 is going to be the top ranked, 23-42 is going to be the second rank, and 20 is going to be the third rank. Basically, it favors the higher numbers. That's why rookie teams are seeding high. So, yeah, just clarify.
So, what you're saying is that just the way the sorting like algorithm works is that it favors higher numbers just because they're rookies. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it favors
that's
higher team
strange.
numbers.
So isn't it organized by Auton if they're tied?
Yeah, like I remember reading in the rules that there's like specific ranking orders, like ranking points is first to determine your rank, and then like I don't know what else, but yeah, so that's strange. But I guess you need to have it just to get
just
sorted.
figured I'd explain that. That's how it works. It used to actually be the opposite, and then people complained that it was making rookies seed too low. So, whatever. Okay, so going into our next topic, which is cheesecaking. We were going to start, apparently, with the cheesecake climbers. So, before we get into 842's climbers, do you think cheesecake climbers will be a thing come champs? It's already happened once.
Yes.
Okay? At Waterloo, there was a cheesecake climber. It was never used, though. So there has been yet to be a cheesecake climber that is climbed. And you guys think it's going to happen?
Yeah.
I think it's definitely going to happen. Watch out for at least one of those top tier teams that have already shown that their scalers are working really well. I've seen multiple designs which could easily be copied over. I think I saw a couple of threads with on Chief Delphi where there was someone made like this grappling hook scaler at their competition itself. So I think it's definitely a thing that's going to happen. And as you can see, it's probably it can sway matches.
Cheesecake
Definitely.
climbers are going to be the next can burglars. They're going to happen at the competition itself,
Yeah.
and then it's going to sway the whole match.
I think it's actually easier to make a cheesecake climber than the can burglars because it's like so much more dense. You can basically fit it anywhere on your robot if you have the
Agreed,
supplies.
especially if it comes in as a
Yeah.
withholding allowance. So you like machine
Yeah.
something nicely. It's under 30 pounds and it fits in a small package. And I think definitely a good example of that is 842's climber. So I have it up on the screen now. It's a grappling hook. It's really, really cool. The issue with that is they're still pretty unreliable grappling hooks.
Yeah,
But I mean, look how tiny it is. That's the entire subsystem. You can make 3 or 4 of those under 30 pounds.
yeah.
And they actually made that at the event. So I'm gonna take off that off the screen. But basically, I think 842's climber. I think quite a few teams are gonna replicate that and make something similar. There's also the pneumatic cylinder climbers, but those are quite a bit heavier. And there's a couple other ones that are not too hard to build, and are pretty small. So it's gonna be viable.
One issue I see with the cheesecake and climbers is that, especially if they haven't been tested, they could cause some problems. Like on the field, we had one alliance partner in Long Island, that wanted to try climbing with their I would say cheesecake, but very untested climber, and they wanted the center, but we actually preferred the center. So I could see it going like either way. It could work really well, or it could like fall on another robot, or
Yeah.
do something horrible.
That's one of the reasons why the Waterloo Cheesecake Climber did not get used, is because they decided that it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
It's risky. Climbing in general is risky. I've seen a couple instances of robots falling. It's not as risky as 2013, just because of the angle that robots were at. So in 2013, a lot of people were at the 45-degree angle going up the pyramid, and then fell on their, fell upside down and stuff. And with pneumatic wheels, they soften the blow a little bit, but it's still sketchy. So it might not be worth it come down to championships.
the foul that can happen because your scalar extending out the frame perimeter. That's
Gotcha.
also something because you've seen a lot of these matches
Yeah.
are getting really close.
Yeah.
That can sway the whole outcome of a match. Specifically in one of our matches, um, in our semi-final match,
Hmm.
our we
At
failed
Troy,
to get
yeah.
and at the end our arm fell down. It was outside the frame perimeter. We ended up getting a 5 point foul for that, and we ended up losing the match by 4 points.
Oh,
So
that
Yeah.
sucks.
Quick, you decide kind of thing. Basically at Long Island, 31-71. In one of their matches, not only broke the outside of the 15-inch rule, but also above the height limit before the end of the match. Um,
Oh yeah,
they
I
did that
Oh,
twice, and
yeah.
both times only got a 5 point penalty, which basically means that they were considered the same tech foul. Do you think that those should have been different tech fouls? Do you think that it should have been a 10 point penalty both times?
I that's a tough call. I'd say it. I guess it depends because like if it's part of the same subsystem, like because it's just their climber, I could understand why it's one foul. But if it's like their intake extends out and then their climber's also above the height limit, I would count that as two. But that's sort of hard to
Yeah.
judge, uh, like as a ref. So I would just honestly keep it at one tech foul.
Alright.
I would probably keep it at one as well, but it's definitely up to the head ref to decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another thing. Should they have gotten a bigger foul in the second match because they knew it was going to happen and did it again?
Yeah. Because they knew it
Yeah.
would happen.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
That thing was held down
some
with I think like a really weak servo. If I remember looking at their robot, yeah, I wouldn't trust that like securing mechanism because it was all tensioned down, and then it was just held in place by like a little servo arm that would pop out. So yeah,
it
I
didn't
think that should.
work. All right. So, someone actually mentioned this in the chat. We were getting to this. So the next thing is the biggest cheesecake of the year, which is a giant plexiglass sheet, pool noodle sheet, fabric sheet, something that sits on the robot that's the height perimeter, that just blocks shots. You saw at Silicon Valley 254 and 16 they cheesecaked that one with the little foldable thing that went over the basically made a little like table kind of, not a
Yeah,
table, like a little just a better blocker. Which I think those will exist, but probably not be as common. But I think pretty much every alliance at championships is going to have a cheesecaked blocker
Yeah.
on the third robot.
Especially come Einstein, cheesecake is gonna be important. These third bots, these third pick low second pick low bots, they're gonna be cheesecaked for sure.
Mm-hmm. All
yeah,
right.
um,
uh,
I think it definitely depends on who you're going up against. And if you look at Code Orange, their robot, I don't think you can defend that, to be honest. They're shooting from like right up at that high perimeter. And I think in a match, they had someone playing defense against them, but they just shoot right over it. There's a lot of teams that it's very hard to play defense against.
All right. So we kind of all agreed that these giant walls are going to exist. And I think
yeah,
there's nothing stopping a team from cheesecaking the giant wall and the climber, and I think that'll also exist. So that's a thing. In fact, you might be able to cheesecake the climber on the giant wall. That would make something like a grappling hook a lot more accurate because you're higher up. Especially if it's a low bar bot that they're cheesecaking this on. So that's something to think about. And then our last cheesecaking topic. When is cheesecaking too far? So probably the biggest like example of cheesecaking go too far is Team 900 and Team 1114's cheesecake from last year. With like the weird can burglar thing that like folded up, and that was crazy. All right.
yeah.
But the biggest example from this year, which did never exist in a real match, is the low goal blocker. So, oh, wrong picture. There we go. So essentially, this was posted by Team 3360, I believe. And their plan was to build this at the event and give this to their third alliance partner. So it ended up one. It's not legal. You could not. There's not a real good way to put bumpers on this thing while maintaining the competitive edge of be able to block the logos. And also, people said that the logos are not going to be that important. Come the higher levels of competition, they're really not that important. High
Yeah.
goals are what wins eliminations now. If this was exposed in week 1, week 2 maybe, then it would be all right. But still, you have stuff like the fact that they're running a Kiwi drive. Okay, Kiwi drive takes time to learn how to drive. Kiwi drive, they drive weird. And then also, they said it was able to get over the secret passage blocks. But I don't know about that. That would definitely be hard with those little tiny Omni wheels. And also, they are in a really awkward configuration. It would not be easy to drive. And yeah, do you think it's just way too far to give an alliance partner a whole new robot?
I think it's definitely too far. And one thing specifically about this design is that another thing, I think they addressed this, but going over I think those wings will fly over the dividers on the batter itself. But this could definitely, not just with logos, you see a lot of teams that have that batter shot, and like Killer Bees, I think Symbiotics also does a batter shot. It can make it much harder for those teams to do that batter shot because they can't line up right against the wall.
But it would also be an illegal pin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't understand that either, because they would have to back away from the thing if people just held their robot against them.
Then,
Yeah,
like,
so-
they could scream G11 like intentional.
Yeah.
Oh, that would okay. Yeah. All right. Wait from that crap. Next thing, let's go over gracious professionalism. Okay, so I think the first topic in gracious professionalism is pretty good, and that's before match strategy. So we had an example of some poor gracious professionalism from a team that will not be named, where their coach came up to us and said, "Your scouting results your scouting results are unfavorable. So what's going to go on in this match?" And I looked at him and I was just like, dude, you're not supposed to say that, especially because it was coming from an adult mentor. And he said, "Listen, I'm just being real." Ironically, in that match, we ended up scoring all the points because they would not let me shake their cables, and then they lost comms on field. So it was kind of like sweet revenge on both of us. But yeah, that's something that everybody should watch out for. Even if you're the significantly better team, say you're playing with a rookie that has a kit bot with, the 4-inch or 6-inch wheels, or no, they're 4-inch wheels, and they're basically going to be able to do nothing in the match. You still have to go over strategy with them, like their Team 254. Make them feel good about
Yeah.
themselves. Be a nice person. What do you guys have to add about that?
We definitely did that with our rookie teams. We had a lot of matches with rookie teams this year. Midland, our first competition, was comprised with a majority of rookie teams.
Yeah.
And it's a learning experience for them, right? And even if, let's say, they don't have the best robots, we definitely had a lot of matches where we weren't with the best robots, but you make sure that, number one, you can perform to your best, right? And saying that to them at the beginning of the match, they're not going to be as confident, right? That's also going to reduce your overall score.
They could be the number 1 seed, so.
Yep.
So be nice to them. You never
Yeah.
know. I mean,
Well, a rookie team was number 1 seed at Midland, 6193,
It's
Legend
happened.
of Robotics.
it's happened quite a few times. And I will say, you never know what this team is going to become. Our team, we had this. This year we didn't have too much, pre-match strategy. People being, mean to us in a sense, because we were doing better. But if you look back to us a couple years ago, or even just last year, our robot was basically useless. And now we're in a position where we could possibly be an alliance captain. So that team that wasn't too nice to us years ago, they're going to be on our do not pick list, which a lot of teams have. We have, at least while I'm still here, because it sits in my head. But a lot of teams literally do have do not pick lists. We have 3 teams on our do not pick list right now. Don't be one of them. So yeah, I think that's something bad.
About the do not pick list, I don't make that in advance based on
Yeah.
who I like, don't like. I make that during the competition based off of how you see the other robots, and okay, this robot literally loses comms every single time it crosses the defense.
That's a good
You're
way
only
to get
gonna
on
That's
a team.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's do not pick lists in other ways. Like I'm talking about the non-GP do not pick list, which again teams do have, and yeah, I do not pick list. You know, some might say that's not GP, but whatever. Next thing is shaking cables pre-match. So we talked about this. But I'm gonna again go on the soapbox here. Do you think that's GP or not? So some teams were actually offended by me asking if I could shake their cables, saying, you know, do you not trust my wiring? And then some teams were very happy that I was about to shake their cables and happy that I told them, here, this is why you've lost comms at all your matches. So, you know, how do you guys feel about that?
I think that teams.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I think that a lot of teams, like, I guess including ours, like, it's sort of uncomfortable to watch someone else like touch your robot and like fiddle with it, especially like even when we were going out onto the field, like the refs would turn off and turn on your robot, and I was like, oh, don't touch it, don't touch the robot. But I think if you see like they're having like a little bit of trouble, or like they're not, like their wiring doesn't look as professional or like as neat as it should be, you can go up and ask them. But like if it looks fine,
Yeah.
I would just leave it the way it is, and or maybe just say like, have you lost any communications in
Yeah.
like a previous match or something like that.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think it depends on. Go ahead.
No, go, you go.
Okay, so I think it depends on how like experienced the team is. A team might be offended if they're a somewhat experienced team, but I think with rookie teams they're always trying to learn more. And if you're going up to them, asking them to shake their wires, they might be happy because they might actually get something out of it. While more experienced people might be somewhat like not sure about it.
All right, so going to the next thing, we would like to talk about quickly. I don't think this will take too long. Is respecting if someone does not want to be cheesecaked. So I think this comes down to if you're gonna choose someone as a third pick, you know maybe choose a rather second pick. You should maybe talk to them beforehand, especially if you're planning
Yeah.
on cheesecaking something big like a climber and a blocker, and be like, are you all right with it? Because some people might take it as an insult that you're just going to take their robot and just scrap stuff on, so the shooter that they spent 6 weeks building and a bunch of weeks refining is just going to sit there unused. So how do you guys feel about that?
So
Ask
what we did
first and then
this year in our pit scouting form is we actually put something. Are you willing to be cheesecaked? So that could help us when picking because we know which teams would be fine being cheesecaked.
yeah.
All right.
I would like I find the issue with like cheesecaking, like if you're willing to be cheesecake, then yeah. But I saw last year, I think it was on Einstein. I don't remember what team it was. But they literally so they literally sat in the corner and were a ramp for another team basically because they had the extra weight, and like they didn't move the whole match because they wanted the other team to be a ramp and didn't get in the way. So like I don't know if that's like really nice to
GP.
the other team, but like
I
yeah,
guess they were on Einstein, so
yeah, like I mean who wouldn't do that in that situation, like because
If-
you're on Einstein,
if
but
that was going to be the best way to win the division, and
yeah.
it was, then I guess it's all right. And I'm sure that if they were planning on doing that, they did what we said and asked them before.
Yeah.
And I know personally, especially if you're getting picked at Worlds, I would do whatever the Alliance captain said at this point.
Well,
like,
yeah.
like, why not? Like, just go for it. All right, so the next topic is going to be going for the GP award. So that means physically trying to get the GPA, as some people call it. Rather, one person calls it. I've seen some teams do that. 2601, the team that Val's from, they give out little sheets, like a pit map, and like little thing, like little piece of paper to everybody. I don't know, Drew, you might have gotten one at SPPLI. They were there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So they physically try to win the Greatest Professionalism Award, and it has worked for them. I know they cheesecaked us in 2015, and then we nominated them for the GP Award for cheesecaking us, and then they won. So, I mean, full circle right there. But yeah, how do you guys feel about people that legitimately go for the GP award? They actually make a valiant effort for it.
I think that kind of helps out everyone in terms of like they every you get it adds to experience to a sense, and it's that people are actually like actively following the messages first, and it can add to experience, but at the same time, like going for it directly, like is kind of iffy. I think people should be GP regardless of going for the award or not.
I think that it's nice to go for the award, as long as like not as long
Yeah.
as, but like um it just creates like a positive environment for like the whole regional if you're being nice to everyone. Like, but I don't think it's like I think it's just weird to like ask for an award specifically, or like I don't know, but it makes like for a nicer regional if everyone's nice. So I don't see a problem with it.
Here's another one. Penalties for non-GP behavior. All right, so I saw something similar to this in New York City. So there was towards eliminations rather. You know, people there was no lunch. Really, there was like a 30-minute break between eliminations, which by the way I think they should make illegal because I starved for those elimination matches. All right, like I literally felt like I was about to pass out. Not even joking. So that's another topic all in itself. Maybe we can talk about that in the end. But people were running to get to their like other alliance partners, and Pit Admin announced that you would be disqualified for the GP award if they caught you running. So do you
Wow.
think there should be penalties for non-GP behavior?
If you're not acting GP, right, there's definitely should be, penalties in getting
Yeah.
the GP award, but overall, like to affect like your overall what happens like in matches and stuff like that, I don't think that's reasonable.
If you don't act, it's bias. It's sort of biased towards ref calls. So I'd say just leave it like if you don't act GP, just make it affect the GP award standing, not ref calls.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
All right, yeah, definitely. I feel like there maybe should be some sort of like way to report non-GP behavior. Um, right now there's not much. Just because I mean, I've personally on occasions where I have found some really out of line behavior from teams is I'll find someone that's not them from their team and just shoot them over an email, be like, yo, like they did this, blah blah blah. Like I don't really care that much, but just make sure this doesn't happen because someone might care a lot. And usually I get response back, or every single time. I've only done it twice. Been like, oh my gosh, thank you. You know, someone else said this, or you know, blah blah blah. This might have changed some stuff. We'll make sure to talk to them. Just you know, sometimes they get overexcited, blah blah blah, whatever. And I think that's something that should be addressed if some really out of line behavior happens.
I think yeah, definitely if non-GP like behavior happens and you know it's not GP, right? I think you should like even if it's like not something major, you should like apologize for it, and try to make amends to an extent, and that just following the message of first, because it's really like a lot of
Yeah.
times non-GP behavior can just happen out of nowhere, right? It's not always like 100% in your control.
Yeah,
So
it's not always intentional. It could just be in the heat of
yeah.
competition. No one slept, and like you just get really excited and say something out of line.
Mhm.
But I think apologizing is a big part, and just you know making sure everybody is just friendly, just mutual
I
respect.
for one, I for one am one to get hyped to competitions and I go overly crazy, but if I do something that's not GP, I apologize and I make sure it doesn't happen again and I make amends. But
How
most of the
often
time, I
does
just
this
stop
happen?
myself.
Can
It
I bring
hasn't
some
happened.
what's the
about
quantity of these?
My
Um,
hypeness is never contained. Let's just say
uh,
that.
okay, can I bring something up
yeah,
at
sure.
at one of our wait, so at Troy, we realized we forgot to pit scout this team we're gonna go up against, and one of our scouters went to ask them if they could do the portcullis, and they wouldn't respond because they said,
They
"Oh,
said they
against
exactly
you."
said, "Oh,
So
because we're against you, and we're not
yeah,
gonna tell you this."
Do you think that's
Ye-
GP?
No, that's not GP. We actually had something very similar to that, and I'm embarrassed to say this because I told the member after that you're not supposed to do this. But basically, what happened was there was a team that will go unnamed, although I did send the picture to first. And basically on their board it said enemies, and then had all the people they were versing that day, and allies. And if you were an enemy and try to go up there to scout, they wouldn't talk to you. All right.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that was wrong in my
Wow.
opinion. So basically, and they were number one seed at the moment, which is I guess why they felt they could do that. Um, and Drew, I'll give you a little hint. They were at the NYC regional, right near your pit. At the that's
Oh
regional,
yeah.
right near your pit.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
they have a big whiteboard. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, that's wrong. So one of our team members, we were versing them the next match. He put on a sweatshirt and then he went to another team and took a button and put the button on so they would think he was from one of their ally teams, and
Wow.
then got scouting data on them. So yeah, I told him not to do that. But in general, what they were doing was not GP at all. Like, you don't write enemies on a board and put some bunch
Yeah.
of team members. Just don't do that, and you never deny any scouting data.
Yeah.
That's just
I think they were going for the kind of a theme with the medieval stuff.
yeah. It was
But
wrong.
in general, you should never deny scouting data. I mean,
It's
all
dumb.
of us give out.
What if we were the
Yeah.
alliance captain and we didn't know anything about this team now? It's just dumb. And also, one thing is, it is not GP to withhold your abilities to your alliance partners. So, some people might just see this as a dumb competitive thing, but don't lie to your alliance partners. If you've only hit one high goal at regional, don't tell
Yeah.
them that you're going to be the high goal shooter for that match. That's not
Yeah.
gracious professionalism. It's not.
Well, some people might not know, but if you know, don't withhold information. Like I've seen pit scouters, people in the pits that don't know information. But if you know the information, say it truthfully.
Yeah.
Especially going into the into your first event, which but like a lot of times, like your pit scouting, they might have only played 2 matches, so and they don't have a practice robot, or they don't have like time actually with their robots, so they might not know. But saying things like, "Oh yeah, we can totally do the ramparts," or "Yeah, we can do all the defenses."
And then like ramming into the ramparts and not going over. Like
Yeah.
that was like we before match we would refuse to do the moat. So we'd tell everybody that we're like we're gonna get stuck on the moat. We have pneumatic wheels. They don't work well on the moat. We've seen that a million times. We're not gonna go over it. You have Rhino track drive. You're going over the moat. And then we had some teams that also had pneumatic wheels. And when they said they're like yeah. We're gonna be the team that go over the moat. And then halfway through the match, we were pushing them off the moat because they got stuck. So yeah, like just know your weaknesses. One thing I just want to quickly address is mentor said give some teams the benefit of the doubt and stop calling them out. That's the exact reason why I'm not saying team numbers or team names. I know all the team numbers and team names for these teams that I'm talking about, but I'm not going to address them by that. I don't want to ruin their reputation. And then another thing someone said is, has anyone else heard of teams specifically throwing matches? I haven't really not heard about this until Mitchell said, I'm ashamed to say that I've thrown a match at an off-season game. So, just heard about it. And that's just absolutely wrong. That's not cheating at all.
I've never
Yeah.
seen it, but I could definitely see it happening if you're like with some top tier teams and like you want to like be on their good side. But I don't think that's like
That's not how you get on a
Yeah.
top-tier team good side. One thing I will say about top-tier teams is they're usually pretty GP.
well, yeah.
They
obviously.
have a reputation to withhold, so they're not going to respect someone doing that. But yeah, some at Spencer said, yeah, stick to only ruining your own team's reputation. So I think we've kind of killed everything in that, except for the last topic, which is half a joke, and that's GP versus safety. Which one's more legitimate? All right, come on. I say GP. Anybody else with me on that?
GP.
Yeah, I mean, we need
GP.
safety glasses anyway in the pit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have a local team that brings like a safety card and has flashing
Oh,
lights.
yeah.
And safety
I've
select.
seen
Yeah,
that.
they were at SVBLI. You saw them,
Yeah.
right? Did you see
Yeah.
how intense that was? It's the
Yeah.
Rebels, 26-38. Ridiculous. They win the safety award every year, but like what? So I guess that's kind of like going for the safety award to going for the greatest professionalism award. Yeah. So everybody agrees the GP award's more legit.
Yeah. I think you see
Yeah.
much more of like going specifically for awards at districts because it can decide between you going to the DCMP or not.
Yeah.
Because that's 5 points that can be very valuable. Specifically at Troy this year, we needed district points really badly. We did not do good at our first district, so we went specifically for the Spirit Award because we knew that if we go off for it, we were pretty confident we could win it. So we went pretty try hard on getting that Spirit Award. At the end of the day, we did end up getting it. We didn't qualify for DCMP, but it's still a very valuable
Yeah.
and
Yeah, awards can determine DCMP and potentially worlds, making it to worlds or not.
Yeah.
It affects everything.
Okay, so Noah said that 1114 threw a match to help 469, and there was a time when instead of losing a match, their strategy was to let opponents score more points and play weak defense. So I did not know about 1114 doing this, but Noah says that he's from our chat. I know he's probably not lying, and that makes me honestly lose a lot of respect in their team, just because that's just their alliance partners were probably hoping to have a good match because they saw 1114 is on their alliance, and then they threw it on purpose. Regardless if they told their alliance partners they were doing this beforehand, it's still awful. So I'm gonna do some more research into it before I go crazy. But yeah. Oh yeah, Jacob said that they did do it. And Mitchell said it was strategy, but I'm sorry. There's strategies that are GP.
Yeah.
And then there's that.
Cheesecaking is GP, but this is not GP at all.
Yeah.
well, cheesecaking to an extent.
To an extent, I mean to an extent, yeah, but
All right, guys. So we're getting to the last 10 minutes, and I think we've said the word GP way too many times in this match. We should start being mean people. But anyway, the last 10 minutes means that we are going to answer audience questions. So yeah, it's going to take about 30 seconds for them to back up. But yeah, just start dropping your questions. Karthik admitted that they threw the match. That's bad. Drop questions. I am done with that. 254 did it in 2013 too. My respect list is just going down.
yeah.
Especially because 114 is Canadian. What's going on here?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
they're supposed to be nice and they're supposed to be GP in their own life. Like, what's going on here? All right, but yeah, that's awful. Throwing a match, don't do it.
I saw a question earlier about the usefulness of the camera poles as well. Like, I saw a lot of teams in Pittsburgh using them, but since the height limit went down, I don't think that they're that useful because you can't really see like a good view of the other side or like of your courtyard, like with the camera, the way the height limit is set up now.
Yeah, I don't think that they're actually that useful. I noticed that the first time I saw the camera pulls, and actually I'm one of the first people to interpret the rule, the person that actually asked the Q&A response, is it, illegal to go, is there a height limit on the, they were basically the person that started this whole thing, is Team 34-19, the Rohawks, and I saw it at a practice match at 2601's school, and they had this gigantic, pole with a TV. Like, it was a 46-inch TV with a Nikon D3100 at the top, and like crazy stuff. But yeah, like that was it seemed alright useful, but it also blocked their entire view of the field. I'm just gonna quickly get off this topic. So Noah said, Sam, we're losing credibility as F4 group when we disapprove of highly respected team. So, and I would just like to say that our opinions are the opinions of ourselves, not our teams, nor F4. I personally disapprove not of the high-level team, but of their actions. I honestly do. I disapprove of a team throwing a match. I don't care whether it's strategic or not. I disapprove of it. And there's some F4 members that completely think that that's allowed. I mean, they're in the chat right now. They think it's all right. So I mean, it comes down to our opinions of ourselves. They do not reflect our teams. They do not reflect F4. We are 40 unique people on the F4 community. We're a large group at this point, so we're not going to have the same opinions. Luckily today, there's been not too much disagreeing. Sometimes there is. So I mean, just the bottom line is that I don't think that that the top tier teams are not GP. I think that most of them are very much GP. I don't think that action is necessarily GP. And it was referenced that 254 and 1114 did it. Two of the most respected teams in first. So, yeah, absolutely. It definitely does make me personally lose some respect. I don't lose complete respect at all. I mean, they're still a very highly respected team by the community and by the chat in general. I mean, we drool over their robots every year. You know, we love them. But yeah, it's just our opinions are of ourselves. And I personally think that it reflects badly on their team. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I would agree with you. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like throwing a match is just like not good in any sensitive situation because first is like all about like
About throwing a match.
the experience, and if you don't have a good experience like with first because someone threw a match, then that's I guess like that's against the ideals of first, honestly.
And plus, these top tier teams are supposed to be role models for other new teams, for the
Yeah.
rookies. So throwing a match shows that, oh, it's okay because we're a top tier team. It's okay. We can just show that we're good.
A lot of the district rules are also put in to prevent teams from throwing matches. I talked to one of the mentors from Killer B, Mr. Zondag, and he helped make the district model. Specifically for eliminations, you get 5 points for each match you win,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, you don't get those points unless you go past. So the reason they did that is because, okay, so if you got 5 points for every match you win, and let's say you're in quarterfinals, you won quarterfinal one, but you don't go on to semifinals, you still won that one match. You don't get the 5 points for it. The reason they did that is so that teams don't purposely throw matches to give other teams district points. I think it's definitely GP to like not throw matches, and it's just reflecting the messages first and setting a role, being a role model for those rookie teams and for those other teams.
I'm just gonna before I play this match on the stream. Noah, is that the match where they threw or a team threw? Someone said, Griffin said, if throwing a game benefits a team, that's the fault of the game and a smart move by the team. But I feel like that could be done in every game. You're just throwing a match if it's a win-loss. Except I guess for Cycle Rush, it didn't benefit throwing a game at all.
Yeah.
So maybe we should go back to the Recycle Rush seeding system. Anybody? Come on, come
I
on.
don't know about that.
Yeah, not a lot of people like that one. But yeah, I mean, technically that was the only game in first history, or rather in modern first history, that throwing a match didn't benefit another team or your team or anyone really, because there wasn't win-loss. Yeah. I guess it is some sort of faults in the game. But again, it's just I don't think it's GP. Some people are saying that us, or rather me, dissing 1114's move it was not the smartest move. And yes, I mean, there are some people in the chat that are getting upset. But bottom line is, my personal opinion is that wasn't GP. I still respect the team. And actually, when I see them at championships, I'm going to ask them about the specific thing. I'll get there. If you guys want me to, record it and put it on the channel, I will. I'm sure that a team like that, will have some sort of justification for their move. And, maybe we'll get some more insight into it. Personally, at this point, I think it's wrong. I always think throwing a match is wrong, but we'll find out. Maybe there was some un-GP behavior from the team that was on their alliance. I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, did you ever reply? Is that the match?
Looks like it.
Yeah. I will say that, I don't know. I guess I could just watch the match, but yeah,
It's
just, I don't think it's that GP. So yeah, does anybody else have any other questions? Because we usually do ask questions at this point of of the show.
I have a question.
All right, I'm ready.
Uh, how come you get your full last name and we only get our initials?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so-
true.
So I do this. It was actually the first show. Someone said to me like, "Oh, my mom's not cool with my last name being on the internet." And from there, I just figured it would be safer, just so that was never an issue, just to put the initial. So all the F4 people, if you want your full name, I'll put it there. It's not a problem.
Mine, I have a really long last name, so I just came up with this whole nickname that everyone calls me by now.
Yeah, you have a really, really long one. Your entire name is 6
Yeah.
letters. Your entire full
No,
name.
no. That's my internet name. My real name is 22 letters long in total.
Wait, hold up. So Adi Sai is not your real last name, or Sai rather?
No, it's Sai Ramachandran. SaiRamachandran.
I'm out. All right, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Drew Williams out there in this
Yeah,
world,
probably.
so I don't really think that was a problem. I don't know how many Dick Chance Sharmas there are in the world though.
There's quite a lot actually.
Oh really? All right, so I guess I'm the only one that you're gonna be able to find on the internet with just searching my name, because I'm the only Samuel Perkowski in this world. And are you the only Adisai you should be able to pull on the world?
Yeah, I am actually the only Adisai. And yo, guys, everyone follow my Twitter at Adisai11.
All right, a last question of the day is from Mitchell, and what's your opinion on a rookie team winning RAS twice? Is that GP? Should it be the same as Chairman's, that you can't win twice in a season?
Rookie. Wait, what was the first award?
Rookie All-Star. So
Oh, yeah.
won. His team did win Rookie All-Star twice this season. I mean, hard regionals too, but for good reasoning. They were really good, and they are a really good team. So, do you think that should happen? It's happened quite a few times.
I think it should definitely be limited to one. At the district level, that's 16 points right there. And
Yeah.
at the same time, that's preventing another rookie team from qualifying. So I think it should definitely be restricted down to one.
Because everything comes down to the points at district level. There's a certain cutoff, and especially Michigan, it's really competitive in order to get the spots to district comp, and everything's about the points.
Yeah, so Rookie All-Star was won by 28-26 twice, 50-12 twice, and also I believe 20-75, or not 27.
Didn't 58-17 win it twice this year?
Yeah, well that's his team.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't think it should. I think it should be limited to one, just because give more and more rookies the option to go to championships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we should wrap up the show at this point. Thanks everybody for watching. We're still gonna have a post show after this, so if you are a live viewer, stay tuned for more. It'll just be a lot more chill. I'd like to address some of the validity concerns, and just all that kind of stuff. So thank you guys for watching the 6th episode of F4. Next week we're gonna have the 7th episode of F4, and believe me, it's gonna be crazy. We're going to be going over districts versus regionals, and there's some people
Ooh.
in there that are very passionate about it. We are going to have 2 Dean's List finalists on the show. We have Grace coming back from episode 2. It's going to be wild. Go there. Next week, same bat time, same bat place. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Everybody say bye.
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 All right. Hey guys, what's up? We're back.
Hey.